Welcome back to the Delaware Way. We continue our conversation with the chief of the Newcastle County Police, Colonel Vaughn Bond Jr. It's interesting because I just had a moment with the colonel when I said we were going to talk about this cold case unit, and I said, I guess I should check, is the cold case unit still around? You said, yes, it is, but now you have a homicide unit as well.
Yes, we created a homicide squad within our criminal investigations unit. This is the first year that we've had that homicide squad. And the purpose of it is, even though Newcastle County in general is a safe county to live in, we still have our share of homicides. And last year was our lowest number of homicides. In 2017, I'm sorry, we had a total of 6 homicides, which is still 6 people who lost their lives. But we started and felt the need to have a homicide unit where we can have detectives who are solely dedicated on solving homicides. In the past, you may be assigned a homicide investigation. You would be given a period of time where you could work that homicide nonstop. However, a month later, if that homicide wasn't solved, you might have been pulled to work on a shooting or a robbery, which takes your attention away from being able to work that homicide. So we wanted to have a focused attention
of those 6 cases. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but of those 6 cases, have they all been adjudicated? Have they all been solved?
Well, and that was in 2017. 2018, we had a total of 7 homicides with 9 victims, and we solved each one of those homicides. So we had a 100% clearance rate for our homicides in 2018.
Which is unheard of.
Right.
So I'm sure you're proud of that.
Yes, we're very proud of it. The national average hovers around 61%. So it's something that we're very proud of. And it shows that having officers and detectives dedicated to homicides, which is the most serious offense, criminal offense we have, pays off.
There was a horrible accident on January 1st, actually happened on January 2nd, but it was after the Mummers Day Parade, and it involved some of the Mummers, where 3 people were killed after in a horrible car crash. But the reports are now that the car started in Delaware and was driving erratically, and a police department in Newcastle County saw the car and started following. And so the assumption is if they had done more, if they had stopped the car, maybe they could have stopped this awful crash. I want to say up front that Newcastle County Police wasn't involved, but I think it's important to know what the protocol is on these chases.
Well, you know, police pursuits are always under a lot of scrutiny, and they're a very tough decision to make. We have a very restrictive policy, as most agencies in the state of Delaware, that pursuing of vehicles is basically reserved for your more serious incidents. If you have a person who has committed a homicide, you know that person is a vehicle, you may allow that pursuit to go on a little bit longer. But for the most part, because of the danger that they pose to the individuals that you're pursuing, to the officers, to the non-involved parties that are traveling along the roadways, pursuits are rarely carried out for any length of time. Supervisors will immediately get on the radio. There's a series of questions that they will ask, ranging from the speed, traffic conditions, weather condition, those kind of things. And the number one reason, what's the reason for the pursuit? Many of our officers in Newcastle County Police Department recognize that once you are able to obtain a tag number of the vehicle, the registration plate, a description of the vehicle, that it's going to be broken off. But that's where we rely on our sergeants who are out there on the front lines to make that call, to get on the radio, to ask the questions. And so many times we do not. You know, it might start off initially and the pursuit may be very short, less than a mile.
Now, the local police stopped this pursuit by the Christiana Mall. And the person was going northbound, apparently, on 95, and then they called ahead to the state police. The issue that's hanging out there is to whether anybody in Delaware notified Pennsylvania. Is that part of the protocol? I know you're not involved, but is it part of the protocol to call ahead and say, hey, you got this guy driving erratically?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. If we, when I was a patrol officer, we worked in the Northern District, which is Claymont. we often had pursuits that would start in Delaware, and then they would lead across the state lines. And so we would always ask RECOM, our communication center, to make a phone call to the neighboring jurisdictions in Pennsylvania to make them aware that we were just involved in a pursuit, but the vehicle fled from us, just to give them a heads up that this situation took place. Because the last thing you will want is for an officer in another jurisdiction to see that same vehicle, not be aware that it was just involved in a pursuit, activate or try to pull that vehicle over, and the individuals inside do something that's going to
Well, the
harm
last
that
we
officer.
checked, we still don't know if that happened. That has to be investigated, and I won't put you on the spot to find out if that should have happened. But I do appreciate the conversation with the Chief of Newcastle County Police, Colonel Vaughn Bond Jr. Thank you, sir, for coming back. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Delaware Way continues right after this.